They say the loudest noise you'll ever hear is the one inside your own head. Not traffic, not critics, not chaos. It's the whisper that won't stop when the lights go out. The echo of doubt that repeats itself with surgical precision. What if I fail? What if I'm not enough? What if they leave? What if I made the wrong choice again? Overthinking. It's not thinking. It's drowning. It's trying to solve what hasn't happened with tools you haven't forged. And yet, you keep digging. Digging through moments you can't change. Digging through futures you can't touch. Until you're buried under questions with no answers. But what if I told you, the Stoics already buried those questions long ago? What if I told you that Marcus Aurelius, a man who ruled the known world, who stood at the helm of empires and chaos, faced the same storm, and chose silence? What if I told you that Epictetus, born a slave and chained in body, was freer in mind than most people holding power today? What if I told you that the cure for overthinking isn't to think more, it's to think less but with fire? Because the Stoics didn't aim to control the world. They trained to control their response to the world. And that is where peace begins. You're not here to fix every possible scenario. You're here to be prepared for any. You're not here to write every page of the story before you live it. You're here to become the kind of person who can handle any plot twist. So stop. Stop rehearsing pain that hasn't arrived. Stop solving problems that only exist in your imagination. Stop living in a war zone built by your own mind. The Stoic does not run from uncertainty. He sharpens himself against it. Because clarity doesn't come from more thought. It comes from directing thought. And the first direction is this: control what you can. Discard what you can't. You can't control the future. You can't control the past. You can't control the reactions of strangers, the whispers of crowds, the rising and falling of other people's emotions. But you can control your focus. You can control your choices. You can control your character in the face of fire. That is the weapon. That is the shift. Let go of perfection. Let go of guarantees. Let go of needing to know. Because the overthinker is obsessed with certainty. But the Stoic? The Stoic is obsessed with preparation. And there's a world of difference. The overthinker says, what if things go wrong? The Stoic says, then I'll endure it well. The overthinker says, what if I'm embarrassed? The Stoic says, then I learn faster than most. The overthinker says, what if I fail? The Stoic says, then I'll rise with more wisdom than the man who never tried. This isn't wishful thinking. This is warrior thinking. And warriors don't waste time fighting ghosts. They fight what's real. And they do it with calm, with clarity, with controlled intensity. Now listen closely. Your thoughts are not facts. Your fears are not prophecies. Your mind is not your master. Unless you choose to make it so. The Stoic trains the mind like a soldier. Each day he runs mental drills. Each moment he guards his inner citadel. And when the fog of overthinking tries to cloud his judgment, he does not panic. He breathes. He waits. He acts only when action is needed, not when emotion demands it. Because thought without direction is noise. And noise has never built an empire. So now sharpen your blade. This is your first mental shift. Overthinking is not insight. It is delay. Stop mistaking hesitation for intelligence. Decisiveness is not recklessness. It is discipline in motion. Every moment you spend analyzing what might go wrong is a moment stolen from what could go right. So choose. Choose movement over rumination. Choose presence over paralysis. Choose clarity over control. You want peace? Then become the kind of person who no longer needs every answer to take the next step. Because overthinking is the mind's addiction to certainty. And Stoicism is the soul's loyalty to action in uncertainty. You don't need 100 signs. You need a single decision made with conviction. Because the truth is, clarity comes after action, not before. The fog only lifts when you walk through it, not when you stare at it from the edge. And when the storm inside your mind gets loud, that's not the cue to freeze. That's the cue to focus. Because the most powerful warriors in history, those who stared down death, betrayal, defeat, they didn't conquer the world by eliminating chaos. They conquered the world by controlling themselves in the center of it. And so can you. You've been taught to think your way out of fear. But thought alone is a cage when it loops. You can't analyze your way into courage. You must walk straight through fear with a steady mind and a quiet soul. That's the second shift. Fear feeds on delay. Bravery breathes in movement. What you avoid grows teeth. What you face becomes small. What you delay becomes chains. What you act on becomes freedom. So when the next wave of doubt rises, don't retreat into another layer of thought. Step into it. Not with recklessness, with resolve. Overthinking tries to protect you from discomfort, but Stoicism teaches you this. Discomfort is the forge, the place where wisdom, character, and strength are born. You don't build mental toughness by rehearsing imaginary threats. You build it by walking straight into real resistance. The Stoics knew this. That's why they practiced voluntary hardship. Marcus Aurelius didn't wait for adversity to test him. He tested himself daily. He'd remind himself, you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do, say, and think. Because death is the great simplifier. Nothing sharpens the present like the awareness of its fragility. So ask yourself this. If you knew your time was limited, truly limited, how much of it would you waste thinking in circles? Would you still lie awake, rehearsing what someone might say, what you might do, what might go wrong? Or would you rise and live? Overthinking is the illusion of control. Stoicism is the embrace of what's within your control. Shift 3. Detach from outcome. Anchor to process. You're not here to guarantee success. You're here to give your best with honor every single day, no matter the result. Because the Stoic doesn't measure himself by applause, or likes, or praise. He measures himself by effort, by virtue, by consistency of purpose. Outcomes are whispers in the wind. Process is what you build with your hands and carry in your soul. So let the world do what it will. You keep showing up. Not to win every battle, but to never surrender your character in any of them. Shift 4. Turn observation into discipline. Overthinkers observe. Stoics act. The world is full of people who see clearly and do nothing, who write pages of plans but never live them. You don't need more insights. You need more commitment to action. If you notice a weakness in yourself, fix it. If you recognize a pattern of avoidance, break it. If you feel the pull to shrink back, stand still, then take one step forward. Because nothing defeats overthinking like discipline in motion. Your mind will resist. It will offer alternatives, delays, escapes, analysis. Ignore it. The moment you act, the noise fades. The moment you step forward, doubt loses its grip. And over time, you build a new mind. Not a mind that's silent, but a mind you no longer obey blindly. The Stoic trains for this. Every day. He does not wait for motivation. He cultivates discipline. He does not trust moods. He trusts principles. And the deepest principle is this. You are not your thoughts. You are your decisions. You are the hand that chooses which thought to hold and which to release. You are the gatekeeper of your mind. Let in what sharpens. Shut out what weakens. Because not every thought deserves your attention. Not every emotion deserves your obedience. And not every fear deserves your silence. Shift 5. Let thought serve action, not replace it. Overthinking is what happens when thought becomes a substitute for movement. But Stoic thought was always built for movement. Seneca said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." But he didn't stop there. He didn't just diagnose the illness, he prescribed the cure. Preparation, perspective, practice. If you fear failure, prepare for it. Then let go. If you fear judgment, remember, they are mortal like you. Then let go. If you fear regret, act with full integrity now. Then let go. Let go. Let go. Let go. It is not avoidance. It is precision. It is the ability to strip away what does not matter and focus only on what does. That is Stoicism. And that is your path forward. Not through a mind that's free of thought, but a mind that's freed from its own traps. You do not need to be thoughtless. You need to be fearless in the face of thought. So now you know, it isn't the storm that breaks you. It's how long you stand still inside it. It isn't the thought that wounds you. It's how long you stare at it, feed it, nurture it like a fire you never meant to light. You were not born to be stuck in your head. You were born to move with meaning. So here's the next shift. Embrace imperfection. Pursue excellence, not obsession. The overthinker wants the perfect plan, the perfect timing, the perfect path. But the Stoic knows, perfection is a myth sold by cowards to excuse their hesitation. No emperor ever ruled because he waited until the stars aligned. No builder ever built because the weather was always good. No warrior ever survived because he analyzed every blade of grass on the battlefield. You move, you adjust, you learn, and you move again. That is how peace is built, not in the quiet of certainty, but in the rhythm of forward motion. You think too much because you think you must get it all right the first time. But the Stoic knows, it is not the first step that defines the journey, it's the fact that you keep stepping. Mistakes? Good. You're alive. Failure? Better. You're learning. Uncertainty? Excellent. You're growing. The Stoic embraces the imperfect because it is the raw material of strength. Let others seek approval. You? Seek alignment between thought and action, between word and deed, between values and reality. That is the standard. Shift 6. Silence the mind through service. The overthinker folds inward. He loops, questions, analyzes, doubts. The Stoic breaks that loop by aiming outward. Ask, how can I serve? Not in grand, performative ways. In small, focused, daily acts. Serve with your craft. Serve with your presence. Serve with your discipline. Because when you become a vessel of purpose, you stop being a prisoner of rumination. Overthinking is self-centered, even when it pretends to be worry about others. It's the ego wearing the mask of caution. But service, real, disciplined contribution, annihilates ego. Takes you out of your own mind and into the flow of life. Build something. Help someone. Show up with strength. Speak truth. Do hard things well. And you'll feel something you haven't in a long time. Stillness. Not because you silenced every thought, but because your life finally drowned them out. The Stoic doesn't chase peace. He builds it in motion, in virtue, in purpose. Shift 7. Gratitude is armor. Wear it daily. You overthink because you fear what you'll lose. You fear not having enough. You fear time slipping, people leaving, things breaking. Gratitude annihilates that fear at the root. Because when you live in constant awareness of what already is, you stop obsessing over what might not be. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Don't imagine things missing. Imagine how much you already have, and how much you'd long for it if it vanished." That's not sentiment. That's a weapon. Every time your mind loops on what's missing, refocus it on what's present. Every time your mind invents a crisis, counter it with what's real and whole and yours. Because a grateful mind cannot overthink. It moves. It builds. It endures. Gratitude makes the soul heavier than fear, and fear only rules light souls. So let yours be anchored, not to outcomes, not to fantasy, not to imagined threats, but to the reality you can touch, shape, honor. Shift 8. Expect hardship. Train for it. Then let go. This is one of the most brutal, most beautiful truths the Stoics give us. Life is not meant to be easy, but it is meant to be mastered. You overthink because you want life to be smooth, but the Stoic prepares for life to be stormy. He rehearses adversity. He imagines loss. He prepares for chaos, not out of pessimism, but power. Because when you've trained for the worst, you walk through life with calm eyes. You no longer tremble at every shadow. You meet each blow like a seasoned fighter. Not because it doesn't hurt, but because you already bled in your imagination and lived. This is what they called premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. It's not worrying. It's war games for the soul. You imagine the loss, and you accept it. You imagine the failure, and you endure it. You imagine the betrayal, and you stay anchored in virtue. And when those things do come, you won't crumble. You will rise in the middle of the blow, already forged by it long before it arrived. This is not morbid. It is the greatest liberation. Because when nothing can surprise you, nothing can own you. You see, overthinking is not a sign of intelligence. It's the signal of an untrained mind left to wander. Because the mind is wild by nature, restless, reactive, afraid. And if you don't give it purpose, it will build prisons. Prisons made of what-ifs. Prisons made of imagined conversations. Prisons made of everything you can't fix, can't change, can't control. But Stoicism? Stoicism is the blueprint to break out of every one of those cells. And the key is this: train your mind like you train your body, with intention, consistency, and consequence. You don't walk into a gym once and expect strength. You don't read a quote and expect calm. You practice daily, brutally, patiently. You write your principles. You rehearse your responses. You build your mind like stone. Not soft, not reactive, but sharp and grounded. Because the Stoic doesn't just want to feel better. He wants to become unshakable. Overthinking? It crumbles under the weight of identity. When you know who you are, truly, immovably, you stop needing to pre-navigate every path. You become the kind of person who can walk blindfolded through storms, not because the path is safe, but because you are strong enough to handle whatever it becomes. So here's your next shift. Define your virtues and let them guide every decision. Not your fears, not your hopes, not your anxieties. Your virtues. Is it courage? Then act bravely, especially when you want to hide. Is it honesty? Then speak the truth, especially when it costs you. Is it discipline? Then do what must be done, especially when no one is watching. The mind that overthinks is a mind unanchored to virtue. Floats, flails, fears. But the mind that serves a set of unchanging internal laws becomes still, because it already knows what to do. No matter the chaos, no matter the stakes, there is peace in knowing your principles. And when action aligns with principle, there is no regret. Only momentum, only integrity, only forward motion. Shift 10. Accept the gap between logic and emotion and lead with reason. You overthink because you want your feelings to always match your knowledge. But they won't. You'll know you're safe and still feel panic. You'll know you're right and still feel doubt. You'll know what must be done and still feel resistance. This is the human condition. But Stoicism teaches you to act not according to emotion, but according to reason. Marcus Aurelius woke up some mornings and didn't want to rise. He was emperor of Rome and still he struggled. But he reminded himself, "You were born for this. The bees don't complain. The sun doesn't ask if it wants to rise. You are here to do your job as a human being. And that job is not to feel good all the time. It is to be good in character, in action, in presence. So don't wait for perfect emotional alignment. Don't wait to feel ready. Don't wait to feel calm. Train your soul to act when it's hardest. That is Stoicism." Shift 11. Interrupt the loop with movement. Action clears thought. Motion erases noise. So the moment you notice the spiral, stand up. Take a walk. Lift something heavy. Speak your thoughts out loud. Write, build, serve, breathe with force. Because thought is not a trap when it becomes fuel. You are not stuck. You're simply still. And the mind will always decay when it's static. That's why Stoicism is not a passive philosophy. It's a warrior's code. You fight not with fists but with presence, with discipline, with clarity. You turn every moment of rumination into a rep, a test, a training ground. You catch the thought. You question it. You strip it bare. Is it true? Is it useful? Is it within my control? If not, let it die. If yes, act. No more looping. No more rehearsing battles you never intend to fight. No more hiding behind what if. Shift 12. Remember that time is burning. You overthink because you act like you have forever. You don't. Every moment spent in hesitation is a moment stolen from life. The Stoics spoke of memento mori, remember death. Not to darken your days, but to illuminate them. You are not immortal. Every second you waste in fear, in spinning thoughts, in imaginary scenarios, is a second you'll never get back. So what will it be? Another hour analyzing a conversation from last week? Or a decision made now that carves a new future? Another night pacing in doubt? Or a bold step forward, even through the fog? You don't need more information. You need urgency. You need clarity. You need fire. Because the fire burns regardless. Better to use it to forge something unbreakable than to watch it consume your life in silence. And now we arrive at the edge of everything you were taught to fear. The place where the noise is loudest. The moment before the leap. That sacred space between thought and action. This is where most people fold. This is where overthinking reaches its final form. Paralysis disguised as preparation. But the Stoic, the true Stoic, steps through that threshold. Not because he feels ready, but because he has trained to be ready even when he isn't. And this is the next shift you must live by. Confidence isn't built by knowing, it's built by doing. There is no perfect plan. There is no moment where all the doubts vanish. There is no signal from the heavens that the time has come. There is only this, a choice, right now, to move forward despite it all. Courage, said Seneca, isn't the absence of fear. It's the decision that something else matters more. So what matters more to you? Peace? Purpose? Progress? Or the illusion of control you cling to while life passes you by? The Stoic doesn't just think less. He thinks clearly and then he acts without delay. He understands this truth. Indecision is a slow death. 1,000 tiny hesitations will kill more dreams than one bold mistake. So make mistakes. Make decisions. Make motion your medicine. Let thought fuel you, not freeze you. Shift 13. Detach your identity from outcomes. You are not your failures. You are not your successes. You are not the result. You are the one who showed up anyway. You are the one who didn't flinch, didn't fold, didn't let fear write the story. When you live like that, there is no need to overthink. Because nothing can define you except your intention and effort. The Stoic doesn't fear loss, because he has already surrendered what doesn't belong to him. He doesn't fear judgment, because he no longer worships reputation. He doesn't fear making the wrong move, because he knows that virtue is not found in being perfect, but in choosing wisely when it's hard. And if he fails, good. He becomes stronger in that fire. That's the paradox that burns in the heart of every Stoic. The thing you're most afraid to do is the thing that will free you. You think if you delay, you'll avoid pain. But delay is pain. Inaction is a wound that never heals. And waiting becomes a weight that crushes. So here, right here, is the final shift. Choose your heart. Own your path. And burn the script. The overthinker is always asking, what's the right way? The Stoic doesn't ask. He writes it with his actions. You want freedom? Then stop chasing approval. Stop needing reassurance. Stop begging life to promise you anything. Make your decision. Walk your path. Carry your values like a blade. And cut through the fog with action. If the world responds with chaos, so be it. You will remain calm. If they misunderstand, so be it. You will remain aligned. If the outcome is different than you imagined, so be it. You will remain you. That is the Stoic cure. Not the elimination of thought, but the elevation of thought to serve, not command, your life. Not the end of fear, but the mastery of fear through deliberate action. Not the control of everything, but the devotion to control yourself in everything. And so you walk, through noise, through doubt, through failure, with stillness in your chest, with fire in your hands, with calm in your eyes, because you are not the thoughts that torment you. You are the will that outlasts them. And every time your mind begins to spiral again, every time the voices rise, every time the old loop tries to pull you back, you smile, you take a breath, and you say, this is nothing new. This is nothing I can't face. This is where I begin again. So now you stand on the other side, not with the promise that overthinking will never return, but with the armor to face it when it does. Because it will return. In the quiet moments, in the waiting rooms of life, in the heavy pauses between one chapter and the next, the doubts will whisper, the fears will stir, the noise will rise again. But now so will you, wiser, stronger, quieter in spirit, sharper in purpose. You will remember, thoughts are visitors. But you are the home. You don't chase them. You don't flee from them. You observe. You decide. You move. You walk forward with your eyes on what you can control. Your discipline. Your response. Your breath. Your steps. And let everything else fall where it may. That is the essence of Stoic power. To meet life with open hands, but an unbreakable spine. To let the world be what it is, while you remain who you chose to become. And in this final moment, hear me. You were not made to be a prisoner of your own mind. You were made to be a force, quiet but certain, calm but powerful, still but unstoppable. This is your creed now. I will not think in circles. I will act with clarity. I will live according to principle, not panic. I will train my mind until it becomes my ally, not my captor. I will rise every time the noise returns, not to silence it, but to prove that it no longer rules me. Because my peace is not found in perfect conditions. It is forged in unwavering character. So walk on, into the unknown, into the fog, into the storm if you must. But walk on with eyes clear, spine straight, and heart steady. For you are not an overthinker anymore. You are a Stoic in motion. And that changes everything.